This week we're racing at Winton, which is this pokey little racetrack in country Victoria, which you've probably never heard of. But if you have done the run between Melbourne and Albury before, you would have driven right past it. So it's exciting to have another Australian track on the calendar, but the problem is that nobody's fucking driving. Part of that's because Winton's not some world famous Formula 1 circuit, but the other part of it is that it's so damn small. As legendary touring car driver Dick Johnson so eloquently put it,
Winton is like running a marathon round your clothesline.
And you know what, he's not entirely wrong, and I suspect he might have hurt someone's feelings with those comments because a few years later, they actually extended the track and made it a bit bigger. But it's still really tight and technical, which makes it totally different to some of the mainstay tracks that we see in sim racing, like Silverstone and Spa and Monza and those sorts of tracks where you have these fast sweeping turns, some of which you can take at full speed, and you have these massive, great big runoff areas, so if you do make a mistake, it's not going to ruin your race. And in all fairness, that really suits GT3, which is by far the most popular form of road racing on the service. But I think the fact that no one's using Winton is actually a bigger problem than it first seems. It discourages iRacing from scanning these lesser known local tracks if no one's actually buying them. And that means we just get left with this image of motorsports that skews towards the upper echelon of the sport. What I mean by that is F1, LMDH prototypes, GT3 racing, and all of that is pretty much the exclusive domain of the ultra wealthy. But here's the thing. Motorsports ain't just for millionaires. It's important that we have representation of the more local, grassroots level of motorsports. Now I get that there's a bit of a contradiction in the argument that I'm making here, because part of the beauty of sim racing is that it removes the economic barriers to getting behind the wheel of some of the finest machines on the planet. You can travel instantly and be on the hallowed grounds of the Nordschleife, or even travel in time and see what it was like in the 1970s to drive through Eau Rouge with those Armco barriers everywhere around you. So if we can have these sort of peak experiences, like why do we even need these dinky little racetracks? Like, we have the best circuits in the world in sim racing, why not just use them all the time? Well, in my view, it's kind of special to see your local racetrack in a video game. I used to race motorbikes at this track that's very similar to Winton, called Morgan Park up in Queensland, but then I moved to Sydney and it's been like 4 years since I've actually raced there. When I found out that there's a mod in Assetto Corsa that lets me drive that circuit, I was like, oh, this is cool because this is a place that has some personal significance for me. And it was similar when I found a mod for my new local track, which is Sydney Motorsport. Both of those mods were just community-made tracks, right? So they're not 100% accurate, but when iRacing does a track, they do it properly. It's all laser scan and every little elevation change and bump is captured just like the real thing. When a mundane, uncelebrated place gets immortalized in a video game, it says something. It's like, oh, someone saw that it was worthwhile to capture this place and put in all the work that was necessary to make it a reality. And in effect, it adds a layer of legitimacy to these places which are otherwise fairly ordinary and unremarkable. And that's important because a lot of these local tracks are actually facing very real threats. We got Wakefield here in New South Wales, which got handed a court order last year, which is kind of the final nail in the coffin for that place. Orion Park used to be here, sort of southwest of Sydney, but that got demolished so that they could make way for housing developments. And thankfully it kind of lives on in a virtual form within iRacing. Sadly, Pukekohe in New Zealand is also ceasing all of its motorsports activity as of next month, but iRacing is also going to be preserving that one, and it's making it kind of a museum for all of these racetracks that no longer exist. And that's the sad truth of it, is that it's not that far-fetched to imagine a future where there is no local racing scene anymore because of the challenges that all these local tracks are facing. So why is no one racing Winton? Well, a big part of that does come down to iRacing's pricing structure. In that game, you have to buy literally everything, right? So every track that you want to race at is going to set you back about 25 Australian dollars, which is a lot in the context of gaming. And because Winton's not already super well known, people aren't exactly jumping at the chance to drive it. And that sets up this vicious cycle where It looks unpopular, so people don't want to part with their money because they don't know if they're going to be able to use that track. And to make matters worse, there are a few vocal people on Reddit who are just absolutely tearing it to shreds.
Just absolutely shockingly dreadful. Literally one of the worst tracks I've ever had the displeasure to drive in any sim.
So is it really that bad? Well, look, in contrast to some of those FIA Grade 1 style circuits that we were talking about before, Winton is incredibly unforgiving. You can go slightly out of track limits, and before you know it, you're onto iRacing's notoriously slippery grass, and you're effectively just a passenger at that point. Admittedly, Winton does feel a little bit claustrophobic in a big, heavy, powerful GT3 car, but in saying that, they have been racing V8 supercars here for the best part of the last 20 years, and in something like the MX-5, which I was racing, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Even though I've never been to the real-life Winton, there's this unmistakable Australianness to the version in iRacing. I was noticing in a YouTube video just how shithouse the curbs are, and I was pleased to say that the iRacing team have actually captured that in a very authentic way, warts and all. You can hear kookaburras, there's this hot jam donut truck next to the co-tired Dunny block, this canteen is advertising toasties, and there's a billboard for Maxibon, which is one of my favourite ice creams in Australia. When you take a local track and you put it onto a global platform like iRacing, you're effectively inviting the whole world to come and see your little corner of it. It's like, hey, we're here, this is where we race, this is what we do, and we're just as much a part of motorsports as the Millionaires club that you see on TV. I'd love to see more support for local tracks on iRacing. I think not only is it a great way for us to share what our local scenes are like, but it's also a way for us to connect to local scenes elsewhere in the world. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe you hate Winton and maybe you'd like to see it banished forever. Maybe you've driven there in real life. I'm just keen to hear from you. And hey, if you like content like this, I'm also co-hosting a podcast about sim racing called Respect the Meatball. You can find that wherever you go for your podcasts. But yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time, catch ya.